First of all, we are talking about the Middle East. There is a series of attacks there. There are wars in many places around us. There is already the Russia-Ukraine war going on. The money allocated for defense and weapons has increased a lot in recent years. There is also news from Russia on this issue. The Russia-Ukraine war is entering its third year. Russia has increased its defense budget to a record level and decided to increase it by 25%. What does this mean, Suhaila?
Actually, we are talking about a draft budget, but it is coming to the agenda of the Parliament, and it is expected to be accepted, so it would not be very misleading to say that it is increasing, although it has not yet been completely accepted. But now there is something like this. We know that we are at the end of the year, and 2025 budgets are now planned. And Russia has given the clearest signal that it will increase its military spending to the highest level of the post-Cold War period, even so much so that the planned rate that is increasing the military budget, it's almost very similar to the Cold War. It's almost as if Russia is fighting a bloc and it can only defeat it militarily, and it's going to pay for more weapons and more army and more soldiers. Because why is the Ukraine war going into its third year? And Putin is saying every time that we will win, we will win. We are confident of our victory, and that's why he is increasing the budget in such a record way on defense spending, and he is sending a message to the people that trust us. The defense budget will be increased by 25%, and so much so that 40% of the entire government budget will now go to the military. The army and security is also included in this because Ukraine is attacking Russian territory. There is an attack on the wolf, so the security of many border states especially needs to be increased, so the costs are increasing. But there is a situation that 10% of all these defense expenses will go to the payments to the military and salaries. Because Russia is facing the ongoing persistence of war with increasing casualties and an expanding battlefield, it finds itself in need of more soldiers. However, due to an unfortunate circumstance, Russia cannot declare a new mobilization as a significant portion of its young people who possess critical intellectual capabilities fled abroad to avoid frontline duties. Losing them again would be both undesirable and embarrassing when considering Russia's international reputation. In order to entice soldiers to join its ranks, Russia has resorted to offering substantially higher compensation, including pensions that greatly surpass the minimum wage. In fact, these pensions are now more than twice the minimum wage. By loosening its fiscal restraints in this manner, Russia is making a complete transition toward a war economy.
Is there any reaction to Russia allocating so much budget for defense? In general, there is not much reaction.
We are tired.
Talk about it in Europe. Germany increased it. This country increased it. That country increased it. There is a reaction from some citizens and some people. I think there is no such
There are
situation
still some
in
columnists
Russia.
who criticize it, but there are some columnists who criticize it, which is not actually Russian. But these columnists made a very important observation while I was reviewing this news this morning, that the artillery shell is more important than butter for the state. That is the money that a citizen will pay for butter, that is milk. Maybe the inflation is also there, although not as big as in Turkey, although it is still able to hold on despite the sanctions, but again, the purchasing power of the Russian citizen. But for the country, for the government, for Putin, cannonballs are more important than butter, as we said, and now there is an effect in Russia. And we need to understand Russia, like this democracy, is more important than purchasing power, minimum power. That is political stability and being strong. A people living with traumas, the Second, or rather the First World War and the end of the Cold War, there are always those traumas. And Putin's ability to manage this perception well in society. When the democratic process fails to produce desired outcomes, a conducive environment for an effective public response is absent, thereby allowing the indoctrination process to persist for an extended period. Consequently, we find ourselves grappling with the current situation at hand. As stated earlier, both President Putin and President Zelensky have outlined their respective plans for the year of victory. Notably, Putin is now placing greater emphasis on altering their nuclear doctrine by asserting that if a non-nuclear state were to dare attack Russia, a nuclear response would ensue with the assistance of another nuclear-armed state. This statement brings attention to a similar sentiment expressed by NATO in a statement made by Secretary General Stoltenberg, who stresses the importance of maintaining our existing doctrine without making immediate changes.
This year, Putin is obviously raising his hand on everything in terms of defense spending, in terms of nuclear strikes, and let's see where this goes from here.